So let's get started by defining key terms and concepts. I've probably already said reproductive identity like 100 times, and I'm going to say them 1,000 more throughout today's presentation. So it'd be useful for us all to know and have a shared understanding of what this means. So this term was coined by Dr. Aurelie Athen, we see her on the right-hand side here, in just 2020. And what this term means is that's how one self-identifies when it comes to their reproductive experiences. This includes everything from parenthood to non-parenthood to everything in between. So for instance, surviving a reproductive cancer would be a reproductive identity, or deciding to preserve one's fertility would be another reproductive identity. Athen views reproductive identity as a parallel to existing models of human identity, and she believes that this may be a predisposition that is genetically, biologically, environmentally, and or socially constructed. So she thinks of this quite similarly to how we might think of gender or sexual orientation, that this is a spectrum. It's ever evolving. There is no one single point in time when it is definitive. And it may change throughout the life course. As I mentioned in my own story, there were times when I felt very certain I would be child-free, and yet I moved more towards the middle over time. She also mentions that this is a really critical part of, it's a very critical milestone in our development and in the adult life course. And we're going to talk more about that in the next slide, but it is very much a part of all of our experience, whether or not we believe it may be so. And I'm going to talk to you more about that as we move on. I also want to define a couple other key terms that will come up a few more times throughout today's slides. The first is pronatalism, which is an ideology that encourages childbearing in order to replace a population. If we think about the United States, we are a very pronatalist society, and we probably have heard this if there are, I'm sure most of us in the room have at some point been asked, when are you thinking about having children? That comes because we live in a pronatalist society. We're very much encouraged to become a parent, to have children. I also think it's important to term chrononormativity, which is the expectation that one's life will unfold in a predictive, progressive, and mostly linear path. Why does this matter? Because if we go against the grain, right? If we don't give into this pronatalist society in which we live, there can be feelings of isolation or marginalization from our choices. But I think it's important that we point this out because as we go through today's presentation, this is not a pro-parenthood presentation. This is very much about choosing what is right for you and for your, obviously for your clients as you're working with them.